Yo, welcome everybody to the second episode of the Vanity Sports Debates main event, the wrestling debate show that we run on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Make sure to tune in every week. Make sure to be in the comment section. We will shout you out if you do comment. Your opinions do matter in this debate, so make sure to be active in there. Today we have two debates. Last week we had one. We have some big topics for you guys. First off, before we get on into any of that, we wanted to introduce the guests that we have here today. Jay, let's start with you, and everybody go around and introduce themselves real quick.
My name is Jay. I go by Jay on wrestling and on most social medias. And thank you for having me on the podcast.
My name is Ashlyn J. I am known on social media as She Talks Wrestling. You can follow me as She Talks Wrestling everywhere. That's all I got.
Leaf is Leaf 4788. That's on Twitter. That's on YouTube, and that's also on Playback TV. I just got started doing Playback TV, and I need to get the hell off IG, man, because it's disgusting.
Why don't you, John?
John Watson, Sports for You podcast, Sports for You Wrestling podcast. Follow me at John Watson 0984 X and Instagram at Sports for You podcast on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, and Sports for You Wrestling at S for You Wrestling on Twitter, Sports for You Wrestling on YouTube.
Appreciate it. Appreciate you, Danny Bailey Sports Highlights. Love to have you back in here, man. Appreciate you always supporting the channel. On that note, first debate we're going to be getting into is a little bit about ruthless aggression, a little bit about today's era. We had some people saying that some rosters might be better than some other rosters. Some rosters go a little bit deeper than some other rosters, you know? So let's really get into that debate. We're going to have Jay first. We're going to have Lee first. Whoever you guys decide right now who you want to start the debate, and then we can get right into it.
Leaf can go first. I mean, he can go first since the ruthless aggression era came before the era we're in now. So you can go first.
Okay. Well, without further ado, let's get into these rules real quick. I'll post them up for everybody to see on the screen real quick. Leave that there for a little bit. Read through them if you want to read through them. Pause if you need to pause. That's how we're going to be getting into this. I read the rules on to everybody off screen or off camera, so they know what's going on. And without further ado, Leaf, Jay, it's on you two.
Okay, I guess I'll start now.
Yeah.
So, all right. So with the ruthless era from the very jump, when the promo had dropped about when Vince had put out the promo, you had guys ready to step up, and it ushered in 2002, arguably one of the best years roster wise in WWE. You had to mix the attitude guys, you had to mix the WCW guys, and you had to mix the new generational guys. Not to mention the OVW Big Four with Brock, Brock, of course Cena, of course Randy Orton, and of course Batista. All had major title runs. Brock kicked it off right away. One of the youngest champions right away, youngest world heavyweight champion right away. Of course, with Randy Orton becoming one of the youngest champions immediately in one of his late reign in 07. Cena, he didn't become Super Cena until after that era, but Cena actually had a mainstay. He had some good matches during that era too. And Batista in 05, who could forget about him? Also help from the late Attitude Era guys. You had the return of Shawn Michaels, which was big, man, because he basically missed the era that he ushered in 1997 because he had that injury which sat him out for 4 years. But when he came back, it was almost like he came back like he left some, you know, big time matches right then and there. Him and Triple H for like 3 straight years was just tearing it up. Every match that he was in was classic, from the Hell in a Cell to the Hell in a Cell to the 3 Stages of Hell. Whole bunch of matches, man. I want a lot of matches. I can't forget Randy Orton with Mick Foley. That match that they had at the 04 Backlash, arguably one of the most underrated matches of that era, of any era really, because there was a lot of stuff being done, obviously, that can't be done anymore. But the mainstay, of course, Brock Lesnar having the matches with Kurt Angle that he had and with the Undertaker that he had. So you had the match quality, you had the rosters, You had the guys that were became main event stay guys, and you had guys that was willing to step up when those guys went gone. The Edges of the world, the JBLs, and rest in peace Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio at 06 in the '06 Royal Rumble. But I think overall, I could test this. This is probably one of the greatest rosters ever from 2002 to 2007 to 2008. But if anything, man, I think that roster was just full of guys that was just ready to step up and fill the main event slots almost right away. When the next guy went down, somebody else went up, like the Edge of the Cenas and whoever, man. And then when Stone Cold and The Rock left, everybody thought it was gonna fall flat on his face. But that's all overall for that. Man.
That's a good argument,
All right,
man. That's a good argument.
On that note, I'm gonna have to stop you there. Jay, you're gonna be up, but before we get you started, I want to shout out BRF Sports for coming through. What's up, Daniel Barry? Once again, appreciate you coming through, man. Make sure I get going. Jay, it's on.
All right, so I'm here to debate the era we're in right now. So, and I'm saying that it's one of the biggest eras we've been in, especially since Triple H took over in 2022 after Vince McMahon had to step down. It's one of especially following the pandemic era where a lot of things were kind of unsure where wrestling was. Right now, I think wrestling is back to being where it's the coolest it's ever been in a long time. Now, let alone the Ruthless Aggression era was good, but a lot of people say they stopped watching it during the Ruthless Aggression era. Right now, it has more people being bigger stars than it has in a long, long time. I mean, with what the Bloodline did for about 4.5 years, one of the biggest baby faces is had in Jey Uso. The fact when Cody Rhodes came back, it brought more eyes to watching that era, especially when it started off with people like, you had your Cody Rhodes, you had your Seth Rollins, you had the women's division is the best that it's ever been. It's not been booked the right way, but it has bigger women's wrestling stars than it has had in a long, long time, like actual women's wrestlers. So let alone the women are already like, head and shoulders above a lot of other women in other wrestling rosters, but let alone the numbers that it's doing in terms of breaking records in arenas, the amount of people who have their eyes on the product now, the fact that it's bringing back the cool factor, the fact that now we're in an era where you can look at it and you can see who can be a star, because now it's not circling around one person being the main event. They've put so many different people that are trustworthy to being in main event spots that don't have to be world champions in order to main event something. The women have been main eventing multiple Monday Night Raws. You've had people like Jey Uso main eventing, putting on classic matches. Drew McIntyre and CM Punk, whose rivalry was not even about a championship, main eventing and it being the best rivalry of this year, trying to follow what happened at WrestleMania with one of the biggest WrestleManias ever. I mean, I feel like now this era has more main event stars, and you don't even have to be a world champion to be considered a main eventer. And that's what I got on that for right now.
All right. I guess my go again.
Yeah.
Leaf, it's on you now. This is the first rebuttal round out of the 2 rebuttal rounds. This one is going to be 4 minutes. You do not have to use all the time necessary. Just let us know if you want to cut yourself off early. You can just let Jay keep it pushing. I'm not going to interrupt you guys at all during these rebuttal rounds. It's just going to be go, and I'll let you know in the chat when you need to wrap your arguments up.
So are we just going to go back and forth at this part?
Yes, 2. You guys get 2 rounds each, 2 rebuttal rounds each, back and forth.
Okay.
So you let him get his off. You can talk about any arguments you want to bring up against his, anything like that.
Okay.
All right.
I think you did mention one of the biggest WrestleManias of all time in the past couple of years, with obviously with the Bloodline and everything, and the reign that they had for 4 years.
Yeah.
The only thing I could probably equivalent to that, and it wasn't necessarily a full title run like Roman Reigns, was from 2002 to 2005. Monday Night Raw was pretty much a Triple H show.
Yeah.
And if you go back to that time where Triple H was in the World Heavyweight picture, and not to mention you had Shawn Michaels with him alongside of him having matches. We talked about I didn't even punch on the first ever elimination chamber match in Survivor Series of '02, and how Booker T already knew how that match was going to turn out, and so, like, yo, that match set a standard and set up obviously the pay-per-view events that you have today, because it wasn't a pay-per-view event called Elimination Chamber. They just had to have it in an event. The same thing with Hell in a Cell's matches back then. So I think that the edginess of how the events like Elimination Chamber are today, and events like Hell in a Cell is today, basically kind of help usher in that era, because the thing is, when they got rid of the Ruthless era, one of the things is they tried to get they wanted to get rid of the edginess, but not get rid of the allure of the edginess. That's what it was. But because obviously Cena was at the main spot of the main event scene, and Batista kind of really blamed him for how the edginess was going in wrestling. Not to mention, but what I thought was complete BS, because Cena was in some pretty gritty, nasty matches himself. So the matches what he had with Umaga, the match that he had with Edge, he flipped Edge off the ladder, in his hometown. That is some of the most. I ain't gonna lie to you. Some of the greatest back and forth leading up to pay per view events was arguably in the Ruthless era. Let's not forget about Kurt Angle and Shawn Michaels, one of the best WrestleMania matches ever. Probably top 10, might be top 5. And when you look at match quality as compared to today, I think it's night and day. Realistically, I mean, and not to say it's not good matches, but the amount of good matches compared to today that it was back then, to me, I think the Attitude Era like literally has cleared the page, like from top to bottom, to me, bro. Like, because you had Shawn Michaels and you had Kurt Angle during them last runs and them late runs. And of course, Randy Orton coming into his own in '07. The night with I think No Mercy 2007. The title changed about like 3 times.
3 times,
like 3 times that night.
3 times.
Triple H had it, and then Randy Orton had Triple H had it. Then Randy Orton got it all with the RKO on the table again in a last man standing match. So you had a lot of edginess during that era that I don't think that I think that the new era today is trying to duplicate, but they really having a hard time, because not a lot of things is just off the book. Shawn Michaels even said in the documentary, when he came back, he was like, yo, we went from like me ushering in the Attitude Era, trying to usher in the 90s, and then I came back in 2002, like, oh damn, we could just do it. All right, we can go all out straight off the page. All right, let's do it. And it's a lot of the matches from '04 that's missing too, and there was some good matches during that time. Or it's some reasons of why that's mentioning. But I mean, I think in terms of match quality, WrestleMania for WrestleMania, in the new era to Attitude Era, I mean, not the Attitude, the Ruthless Era, is up here, and everything else is just catching up.
All right. Well, I mean, look, good argument, but I'm gonna raise you the fact that the Ruthless Aggression era did have a lot of great wrestlers, but the thing is, the one thing that this era has shown, that it has more stars. So let's talk about 2 years ago when Cody Rhodes was coming back from being in AEW, leaving a company that he started, and everybody saying, well, he's gonna come back to the WWE, and they're not gonna. As soon as he made that comeback to WrestleMania 38 against Seth Rollins, he has been one of the other main stars that they said could never follow John Cena. That white meat babyface, Cody Rhodes has been that. Let alone when they brought back the World Heavyweight Championship, they picked Seth Rollins to be the first one to usher in the importance of that title. So we talk about those 3 matches that Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins had, especially with the Hell in the Cell, with the torn pec, showed you how big of a star and how important keeping the wrestling part of that alive, and then Cody Rhodes putting his body on the line for us. Let's talk about all the matches that Seth Rollins had as World Heavyweight Champion to put that title to mean something, with matches against like AJ Styles, Finn Balor. He had matches with Braun Breaker, who now is another star that's up and coming, but they don't talk about that much about his dad and his uncle, the Steiners, being as popular as they were. He's ushering his own version of that Steiner name, so he's going to be another big star. Let's talk about how Sami Zayn went from being a parody wrestler to when he joined the Bloodline, they made him another big star. So let's talk about WrestleMania 39 when the tag team titles were defended in the main event. So the thing is, they're showing you that they are able to make stars that don't even have to. When was the last time you remember a tag team match main eventing WrestleMania? The last 2 years it has. So they're showing you that there's more eyes watching, but they also have the ability to make more stars, so they have it being more of a reach. I mean, Jey Uso, we can still say that he's probably one of the top baby faces of this year. Rhea Ripley, one of the most people are more obsessed with her than they have been with many women since, let's say, Sunny, Trish Stratus, Lita. Like, nobody's had a following in terms of women like Rhea Ripley. So if anything, this era has developed more stars. Yes, the Ruthless Aggression did have better wrestlers. But right now, this era is showing you that it's already a bigger spot because there are more stars being presented in the main front.
Well, I think the star quality is definitely there for today's era, but the star quality was also was at the forefront of the Ruthless era, because obviously when Shawn Michaels came back, it was almost like a miracle. And I seem like I'm spinning around here, man, with Shawn Michaels, but when Shawn Michaels came back, it was almost like a miracle. How Triple H became what he eventually became, nobody really saw coming, especially after the curtain call in the 90s. We all thought he was just going to just float around and just going to continue to be under them undercard matches. And then when he got DX after 98, that was going to be the height of the height when he was running down buildings in the tank, running down WCW in the tank in 98. So realistically, you look at if you look at the previous time, and then with Triple H being able to have a name through that, and still be the main one of the main floats in the Ruthless era, in the beginning of the Ruthless era, where you got guys like, you talk about guys that was made stars. I talked about Randy Orton. I talked about Batista. I talked about Cena. Well, we talked about Lesnar. We talked about Edge. These guys have carved out Hall of Fame careers in just that time alone. So like, and they were stars in their own right, man. So I mean, Shawn Michaels obviously star quality. Whatchamacallit, star quality. Obviously, everybody thought it was going to be in a flux, man, when The Rock and Stone Cold left. But the Undertaker obviously was still a main goal. The Undertaker arguably had some of his best matches in that era. And in my opinion, outside of maybe WrestleMania 25 and the other three matches that he had with Shawn Michaels and Triple H, closing into the 2010s. So realistically, when I look back at everything in its totality, everything that today's era had, the Ruthless era had that probably times 10. You want to sell out pay-per-views? We got them. You want to sell out arenas? We got them. You want to top guys in the main event spot? You want to top heels? You want to top baby faces? We had them. You know what I'm saying? So like, I mean, it basically all they did was replace smartphones like we got today with picture signs and everything, and it was a wild time. It was just a wild time. It seemed like the crowds was more stacked because it was papers and signs and everywhere, all in the crowd. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, and that era had also, I can't forget about little events like the ECW One Night Stand in '05. I can't forget about other little events and other stuff on the side. I thought the ECW they did make some mistakes by bringing ECW show back. They did make some mistakes by bringing other stuff back. They did get rid of the hardcore title, which I was a little bit mad at. But when they brought back the original World Heavyweight title, and they put it right on Triple H from '02, and then it took off all the way. That was a title that was always going to be remembered. Especially as a mainstay, because WCW belonged to WWE now, man. So, I mean, you look at the Bischoff era, you look at the Stone Cold era when he was running things in '03, You look at the first brand extension, the first, how could I forget that? The first draft and the 1st brand extension, the first Raw versus SmackDown Survivor Series events, and it was almost like they was having a back and forth almost every other pay-per-view. So realistically, man, I think when you look at the beginning stages of that, I think those ushered in everything that you kind of seeing today, and a lot of the character building, a lot of the star building that you got from the NXT, what was the NXT guys in the last decade, now main event players today, into today's era. I think you could have never really, nobody could have ever really predicted Edge and JBL and Eddie Guerrero having the title runs that they have. Nobody could have predicted that.
Yeah. Okay. So I completely 100% agree with you, but let's talk about, yes, the Ruthless Aggression era was selling out arenas, but the thing is, think about this era, right? 2023, they go international, right? Backlash is in Puerto Rico. They have the biggest reggaeton artist wanting to wrestle. So not only did he wrestle at WrestleMania, right? He ushered in one of the biggest sold out pay-per-views internationally that Puerto Rico had for the first time in decades, right? Let's talk about Backlash in France. They're taking it more international, and now they're selling out all these international arenas, right? You got people like Logan Paul, who I know people feel a certain way about him, but he has a big following, and he went out there and he rocked it as a wrestler. When short of him not being around, but when he gets into the ring, homeboy can go bell to bell. Nobody can take that away from him. So you got these celebrities that are willing to stop what they're doing to go into wrestling because it's what they want to do. They want to be a part of that. You guys, yes, the Ruthless Aggression era had stars. The Rock wanted to come back, and it ushered in maybe the best version of The Rock that we've ever seen in the Final Boss. The fact that, especially after they got bought out by TKO, the fact that now The Rock, so he was able to become a version of himself that worked better, and I'm going to say this, than any other version of The Rock. The Final Boss is the best version of The Rock, and we got that in this era because he wanted to be a part of that. Okay? I mean, what he did to Cody Rhodes, that first sign of blood that they showed in the WWE that was part of the story was a big moment, right? The face-off that he had with Roman Reigns, no words exchanged. People gravitated towards that. So the fact that now you got people with I don't want to say characters, because right now I don't think we have too many characters, but this era has just developed and bringing stars from other walks of life back to bringing more eyes on that. Now people want, now they want to have WrestleManias in foreign countries. They want to have pay-per-views. And the fact that this year alone, they had it in France, they had it in Australia, I believe. Elimination Chamber was in Australia. You got the representation across different parts of the world being represented every time you turn on the WWE now. Now all those stars are international stars. You got your Latin stars. You got people like Obafemi that's in NXT that's from another country. You got, people from Puerto Rico, Mexico. You got more of an international feeling when it comes to all these wrestlers now. So like it's crossed so many different boundaries now that people that are outside want to come in and be a part of it. Whether it's being for one night, like I Show Speed showed up at WrestleMania. You got KSI who showed up for Logan Paul. Logan Paul's going to UFC fights when he was the US champion, representing the WWE and putting them on a platform, knowing that it's important. So, I mean, you got other people interested in being this. Not to take away what the Ruthless Aggression era did. It had a lot of my favorite wrestlers, but this era, again, it's bringing more eyes to watch the product. And now that it's going to be on Netflix, there's going to be twice as many people watching it, because now you don't have to wait, to pay for, for regular cable. People already have Netflix. So now they're going to have more eyes on them for streaming. So now, bell for bell, I think right now the product, more people are watching it now than they did in the Ruthless Aggression era. It has the eyes on it. So, yeah.
I would say in terms of countries, I could go ahead.
Um, yeah, okay. We appreciate y'all going in these rebuttal rounds. I'm gonna have to stop you
Mhm.
right there. I want you guys
Okay.
to take a second, think about what's been said, think about what you want to say, and
Mhm.
get ready for this final conclusion round. It's going to be 3 minutes, same as the introduction rounds. It's going to go back and forth. There's going to be your final time to speak. So
Okay.
get any final arguments you want to get out, get any final summaries you want to get out. This is your last chance. I'm going to let Leaf go first. Same as the way you started it, Leaf. Send us home.
All right, so basically, you did mention bring up a lot of the overseas events and a lot of stuff that they're doing over there. That realistically, that started really a long time ago. It really
Yeah.
started even before the Ruthless era. It started what is '92 when they had SummerSlam over in England, over in
Yeah.
yeah, I think it was in England
It's
or whatever. But yeah, so
yeah.
and then they carried that with little events. I think I remember they had a Capital Carnage in
Mhm.
'98, and then they turned it into like UK events, little events that they had overseas there and there. But they were growing a lot of the overseas stuff on the other sides and all other places a lot before it. But now it's just more visual because now you got more media outlets, you got more stuff where you can see it. Netflix is a big thing. Obviously, the timing of everything and how you can see wrestling is different. But
Mhm.
basically, wanted to conclude just checking off the boxes that everything that I think that the Ruthless era has. Listen, more better roster, more main eventers,
Ooh.
more heavyweight champion top players,
Mhm.
more main event stars, more guys that you could fill in slots with, more guys that was mainstays and continued on their careers and then eventually came back and they completed their careers. Um, I mean, you could argue that a lot of those guys that from that era they might have had some of their better matches in a later era, but how we grow the new names and the names that they made for themselves, it was definitely in the Ruthless era. I mean, the Cena that we know, the spinning belt was horrible. I thought it was, but at the same time, I at least thought that the listen better rivals because what was you had the Edge Cena rival, you had
Mhm.
the Triple H Shawn Michaels, you had the what was it Batista and Triple H, you had Randy Orton and Triple H. Like you had a whole bunch of stuff, man. Like it was just in terms of just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. It wasn't. It was a reason why nobody held the title for 4 years is because you had guys that was on that same level that could hold that grass ring and take that grass ring to the top. All in all, I think it's elite. It's so many different multiple categories that the aggression era still has today,
Mhm.
and I think it has yet to be duplicated or yet to be topped, in my opinion.
Okay. So this era has, in one way or another, has made people enjoy storytelling a lot more. We talk about the 4 years of the bloodline, right? It every time people said there's nothing else it can do, what it do? It evolved and it gave you something else. It gave you something else. It made people enjoy long-term storytelling. CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre this year alone only had 3 matches, but their rivalry started, you know, at the Royal Rumble and it went all the way till Bad Blood. And they only had 3 matches, but they kept you interested with long term storytelling, right? You know what? The Ruthless Aggression had a great roster. Let's talk about this roster. We got Cody Rhodes, Seth Rollins. Unfortunately, AJ Styles is hurt, but you got Roman Reigns. You got LA Knight. You got Rhea Ripley, you got Liv Morgan, you got Finn Balor. I mean, the list of people that are utility players now: Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, Randy Orton, who's in the best shape of his life right now. You got all these stars that, yes, they started off in the Ruthless Aggression era, but they didn't become like Randy Orton right now is more popular now than he was back then. It's made better. It's used social media to make bigger stars. Look at Drew McIntyre alone this year, where his stock has risen from being an online troll. He's become one of the better heels, and people loved him for it. The fact that you got stars that can make matches feel important with just using objects. The bracelet with CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. The Ulafala with Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa. The stars that it's brought in with your Tama Tonga, your Tongaloa, your Jacob Fatu's, who for the longest time needed to be in the WWE, and look what he's the breakout star of the year for ESPN. The roster that it's produced right now is head and shoulders better than a lot of the rosters we had back then. And the match quality, if they put together a good match, it's there. AJ Styles and Cody Rhodes, Backlash, maybe one of the top matches this year, let alone Drew McIntyre versus CM Punk. This year alone, I can argue this year alone produced better matches than a few of the years in the Ruthless Aggression era because of long-term storytelling. It's been able to force people to enjoy long periods of time to tell a story. And then when when it's time to end that story with a lot of the things, when Cody Rhodes finally finished the story, big thing. When CM Punk and Drew McIntyre had Hell in the Cell at the anniversary of Bad Blood and at the anniversary of Hell in the Cell, boom, the payoff was big. It's taught you that if you wait long enough, the payoff is just as good as the story. So, let alone, I love the Ruthless Aggression era, but unfortunately, it doesn't top what the last 2 years or the last 4 years, especially coming out of the pandemic, on how many stars it's actually made and how many people are put in there. Like Sami Zayn main evented Elimination Chamber in his hometown against Roman Reigns. You know what? He lost, but it still made him a star, bringing him back into the bloodline because everybody knew how big of a piece of the puzzle he is. So I'm going to say that, yes, they had big stars, but this era has produced better storytelling, better stars, and all together just a more watchable product.
On that note, you guys' debate is over. Before we get into the judgments, before I ask Chad how you guys did, I want you guys to tell me how you guys think you did. How was the debate for you two? How are you feeling?
All right, let's go.
No, I mean, look, Leaf, he brought up a lot of good points. And I said this in our chat, in our group chat. People sleep on the Ruthless Aggression era, and I feel like they do because it did. I mean, Eddie Guerrero winning the world title, Shawn Michaels, those are two of my goats. But this, the last 2 years with Triple H, and he's done some pretty bad things with booking. He's been able to put out more stars at the forefront of wrestling. I mean, look at how many people have main evented and under Vince's watch never would have main evented. So I feel like he's definitely taken the chance on a lot of wrestlers that Vince McMahon wouldn't have.
Okay, Leave, how you feel about the debate, man?
I feel like Jay brought up a lot of good points about like the guys that were individuals coming, like where they was when he started as like gimmicky wrestlers. So he talked about how Sami Zayn was in that gimmicky spot. He talked about how a lot of other guys was in that gimmicky spot. I thought he was gonna bring up Bray Wyatt a little bit in a couple of the eras, because I counted Bray Wyatt for like the new era, but I thought I did pretty good just in terms of like the battles that the Ruthless era had. I brought up Undertaker versus Randy Orton. I brought up Triple H versus Shawn Michaels, which was like a program from like 02 to 05 until they got DX back together. That's like a 4-year program. They had match 02, 03, 04, 05, and always was money. You know what I'm saying? So I thought I brought up Brock Lesnar and Kurt Angle. I brought up Kurt Angle and Shawn Michaels, and it seemed like the most repetitive type of players, but you got new players that was able to spawn out of that. And I feel like Edge was probably the biggest surprise to me, man, because the stuff that he put himself would do in the tag team era, for him to carve out a world title runs during that time, man, was money to me. And I don't even think I brought up the fact of the Money in the Bank contract was spawned during that.
Yeah.
So I mean,
there was a lot.
The draft was spawned during that era.
It's a lot to cover in 8 years plus. in just about 10-20 minutes. It is a lot to
Yeah.
cover. You gotta miss some things.
Absolutely.
But
Well, the thing is,
as a
the one thing,
spectator,
yeah, the one thing I was gonna say, because a lot of again, because there's just so much stuff to talk about, that people were gonna say there haven't been big stars since Batista and John Cena at the same time. Right now, I mean, right now they're spawning those people within Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns as the two top faces of the company. You haven't had two faces of the company since Batista and John Cena at the same time.
Yeah.
So
okay, I
yeah,
agree.
so yeah.
I
Um,
definitely agree with
I
that.
want to say this as a spectator, someone who had the privilege of watching you guys. It was very good. It was very good. You guys brought up some great points. Leaf, great points. One of the judges, I'm gonna be the only judge on camera today, but one of the judges, Roger Obi of Sports, he said that he's leaning Jay. I tend to agree, so we're gonna give this win to Jay. But Leaf, you have opened my eyes to the ruthless aggression. I won't lie to
Yeah.
you. You had some
No,
great points in there, man. I appreciate both of you guys coming through today. I would love to have you both on here at in some capacity again for maybe another debate, maybe being a judge, even coming onto the podcast on Sundays at 4 PST, 7 EST. You know, pull up.
I got
you,
I'm
Jay.
gonna get a
Thank you.
Sunday in, man. I appreciate it, E, man. I was gonna
Yeah.
do the next game, but it looked like that game about to get out of line, so I rolled in for this, man. So yeah,
on
but
that note,
this was all right, man. Definitely appreciate it. Appreciate it,
Yeah,
fam.
yeah,
that
man.
note-
Leaf, I appreciate you, man.
Yeah.
On that note, I thank you guys both for coming through. I got to get these next two in here to get them started. But
right.
thank you guys both for coming through, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you
All
for having
right.
me.
Yup.
All right. It's time. It's time for round two. We got a brand new debate for you guys. But before we get into that, before we get into any of that, you guys just watched the last debate. How are y'all feeling? Are you nervous? Did it calm your nerves? What do you got to say?
Oh, it was cool. It was very entertaining. I enjoyed it. I mean, both of them brought strong points, and I lean more towards the ruthless aggression era. But I saw everything Jay was saying, because obviously with the modern era right now, it's changing the game. It's how we view things as far as a fan, how we consume it, the business and everything. So, but I understand where the aggression era comes in, because obviously you think about all the talent that came through that era, from Cena to Randy Orton. It was just a perfect storm for them to try to get out of the Attitude Era, to try to see what was going to be next, and they carried it. And we also got other things in that era. We got Hollywood Rock in that era. Obviously, we got Brock Lesnar. We got, obviously, Evolution. It was just so much in that era that, like you said earlier, you can't describe all that in that much time. You go do a deep dive on it, it's very interesting.
I agree. Ashley, how you feeling?
I'm terrified. I'm terrified. No, I think I have been dubbed as a bona fide Cena baby because I was thrust into the world at the end of 1999. So I'm a 2000s child. So I didn't grow up watching the Attitude Era and Ruthless Aggression. So I 150% was on board with everything Jay had to say, but I saw it from both sides. But being the bona fide Cena baby that my friends have dubbed me as, I would say I would have been very biased if I was judging that debate.
I hear you. I hear you. It does get tough. That's why we have the certified OG or BRS Sports in here, Roger. You know, he's got a much longer perspective on the wrestling than I do. I'm also grew up in watching Ruthless Aggression, but I'm enjoying today's era as well. I've gone back, watch Attitude Era. You know, you get to enjoy wrestling in all its eras and all its times. That's the beauty of it. But on that note, I want to get you guys started. I'm gonna go through the rules one more time for everybody watching, just to show it on the screen. You know, this is what it's gonna be looking like. Go ahead and read through. Go ahead and pause if you need to. That's what we're gonna be doing. The same rules as the last debate. And on that note, we're gonna be talking about Jey Uso and Kevin Owens, because we had some hot takes in that group chat about the way Kevin Owens is storytelling, the way he talks. So you know what, Ashlyn, John, without further ado, I'm gonna let y'all get into it. Y'all can decide who wants to go first. As soon as someone starts, I will start the timer. So,
Ladies first.
I knew that was coming. I felt that coming in my Shondo. So I am here on the side of Jey Uso is the better talker, the better storyteller than Kevin Owens. Now, let's lay it all out on the line now. Jey Uso to me is more versatile, which is why he's able to do these things better. He's been a heel, he's been a face, and it's worked. He can be a face, he can be a heel, and it does not really he can do it, he can do it all. Kevin Owens at this point in time in life screams, hollers, has grown man tantrums, panic attacks, and if you try to put him as a face, it doesn't make any sense. So his whole thing with running around with Sami Zayn when they were tag champs, it wasn't working for him because again, he couldn't let go of that heelish side. He had to scream, he had to holler, he had to everything was just even as a face. I've never seen a face that is able to argue with somebody as if they're a heel. So that's my biggest thing with Kevin Owens. And now we're to a point now where things are starting to get a little repetitive, if you will. It's like, oh, I've heard that before. Oh, I've seen that before. It's oh, you're my friend and you betrayed me. It's like this whole storyline he has going on with Cody Rhodes is just Sami Zayn 2.0. It's all the same. It's kind of like they're kind of recycling what he's doing. Versus Jey Uso at this point, he rocked with his brother all that time. And for him to be able to step away from being the twin, the forgotten twin, if you will, because everybody was on Jimmy and wasn't nobody really on Jay because at one point they were kind of pushing Jimmy as the more aggressive and the more spotlight of the two of them. He has stepped out on his own and is literally thriving. I think better as being by himself than being in the Usos. So that is my argument of why Jay is a better storyteller and a better promo artist than Kevin Owens. And I am going to succeed my last minute and let my opponent begin his arguments because I have no more to say.
Okay. And let me say this as a person who is a Jay fan. Tell me how his storytelling is when it's not involving the bloodline.
We're not
When I
arguing.
think
Are
of
you trying to
Jay,
argue?
I know we're not. No, but I think with Jay, his storytelling is dope. But even like you saying, like with Kevin Owens, how his storytelling seems like it's always repetitive, grown man temper tantrums. Are we gonna ever? When do we get to the point where we see Jay's storytelling when it's not involving Roman, when it's not involving his Jay, when it's not involving anything bloodline related? So, um, way I look at it is Jay is a good storyteller, but Kevin Owens is a better storyteller because everything he takes you on is this journey of anger, and it's just like whether it's Sami Zayn, where it's Cody Rhodes, where it's Randy Orton, he takes you on this journey of just being that guy who's always going to be known as that scorned lover, and he never forgets. He never forgets. And I'm gonna let you have these next rounds. Hold on, gonna let you have this next. Go ahead.
I think at this point is the conversation. Oh, he's leaving. If he leaves, do I automatically win? Is that how this works?
I think he's just probably going to go check on something. I think we're going to get started onto the rebuttal rounds. So this is going to be your first rebuttal round. I don't know if he still can hear you, but I mean that's only going to work against him. That sounds like you're going to get a big advantage in this first round.
No,
Ah,
I
man,
did go.
ain't that?
Someone's at the door. No, I ain't running. No, someone was at the
Gosh
door. No,
darn
he,
it.
he not running. He not running. He not scared of nothing.
He's
So
a runner, he's a jack.
I'm gonna let y'all get started on these rebuttal rounds. You can start. You can talk about the other person's argument, strengthen your own argument. I will not interrupt you during these rounds. I will let you know in the private chats. Make sure to have it open when your round is done, and you can let the other person go. On that note, I think it's on you, Ashley.
Okay. Okay. First of all, Jay Uso has had plenty of storyline outside of the bloodline and his brother. Do we not remember the IC title run? They didn't interrupt that till the end. Nobody was stunting Roman solo. or Jimmy when he was going up for the title initially? So let's start with that. Also, it's like Jay has had plenty of opportunities outside of the bloodline to be himself, to do his own thing. And
Okay.
I think saying that he hasn't had any storylines outside of the bloodline is kind of ludicrous because he did. He did that whole thing with the Judgment Day. He did the whole thing with what? Who got the IC title? My blind it was blank. What the man name is?
Braun
Braun Breaker.
Breaker.
See, I
Braun
was gonna
Breaker.
call him Steiner. He's Steiner, it don't matter.
Same. Same thing.
Same
My own
thing.
name
I
Steiner. You
mean,
call him
hey,
Steiner.
come on. So I don't. That's my rebuttal to you is why are we acting like he didn't have those moments? Why are we acting like just because majority of his things was his brother in the bloodline that he hasn't done anything outside of that? Where's that coming in at? I don't understand. I would love an explanation.
And like you and look, it's just that when you think about the stuff with the Judgment Day, was that more about Jay or was that more about Rhea?
Just about the both of them.
And when you go to the well, and when you think about the IC title run, I loved it. I was emotional about it. It was like an hour away from my house. I couldn't be there. It was the week of my birthday and
Oh,
stuff. But and I'm as happy as I was for it. I still don't see where it doesn't remind me of what I'm seeing with Kevin Owens, where I'm looking at this guy. Promo work, he's good. But when it comes to actually telling a story, we we see Kevin Owens telling this story about how he feels betrayed, how he's always betrayed. And whether it was he being betrayed by Cody Rhodes, being betrayed by Randy Orton. But when I think about why I think Kevin Owens' storytelling is more phenomenal, he takes you on this journey where it can get dark, it can get very, very annoying. But he's that guy you love. You have that guy you love to hate, and you got a guy you hate to love. And you hate that you love Kevin Owens because he sounds like he's just a big old crybaby, but in the end, he's just explaining facts.
having
And when he explains facts, he ethers those facts. Especially with what we're talking about right now with Cody, he's just ethering him by pointing out this, and this. How, but you're not always bringing up what you did to get you always want to focus on this part, but what about this, that? What about ABC? You always want to focus on D. Pause.
pick me, pick me,
Go ahead.
pick me. I got a question. How many
Yes.
times are we gonna have to go
Yes,
through the
ma'am.
same journey of this man getting close to somebody and then betraying him? Don't ain't that getting kind of old? That's like going to McDonald's or going to the same nasty McDonald's, ordering the same thing every time and being shocked that it's nasty. I mean, when are we going to understand that repetitiveness in these stories and him taking us on a journey? The nobody care about a journey at this point. Can we have something different? When is this man going to learn that just because you get off somebody, that don't mean you're gonna get stabbed in the back? You'd have been stabbed in the back by Sami Zayn, apparently Randy Orton, which by the way, Randy ain't do nothing to that man, and neither did Cody. If I'm being honest, that man is in his fifis for no reason.
That's
In his
funny.
fifis, he's like
Well,
a child. But when are we going to get out of this? He's taking us on a journey. Baby, I done been on this journey. I done been on this flight. I done been on this bus ride. I'm sick of it. Let's have something new. Please. Please. At least Jay gave us something different. We was in the Uso penitentiary. We was the right hand man. We was man event Jay Uso, and we still are rocking and rolling like nothing has changed. In changing gimmicks, he's still been able to give us something different. And I think Kevin Owens has not been able to give us that at all, ever. It's always the same thing over and over and over again. It's repetitive.
and so re- repetitive, very repetitive. What I say repetitive is this: Kevin Owens, yes, it seems like, okay, he get close. He's that person you don't want to get close to, but that's not his fault. He just finds himself in a situation. Remember, he told Cody Rhodes, I didn't deserve to get an undisputed title shot, but you're going to give it to me anyway. Just alone his storytelling with the bloodline with Roman Reigns during the pandemic, where he's getting always this close to the WWE Championship, to the Universal Championship at the time, excuse me, but he was getting screwed by Roman Reigns. He got ran over by Roman Reigns. Then enter Sami Zayn into this mix. Now Sami Zayn ends up joining the Bloodline years later. And unfortunately, when I think about what Kevin Owens I think about Kevin Owens, I feel like he feels that every time he tries to give someone the benefit of the doubt, everybody focuses on his benefit of the doubt, but he gets betrayed too. Sami Zayn, you're my best friend, but you want to go partner up with the guy who pretty much gave me hell all from the end of 2019 to 2020, and you want to call yourself Sami Uso? You're Sami Zayn. Where are your balls at? And then when he told and then you think about Cody now. You saying you were done with the bloodline. You walk into Nick Aldis's office and said you're done with the bloodline. But no, you decide to take the contract from Roman Reigns' hands, and you're gonna just go ahead and get yourself involved.
But at that
anyway.
point, Roman wasn't bloodline. Roman was just Roman.
But it was still bloodline, still getting involved with the bloodline. He still got involved in Roman Reigns' business, and he feels like with Sami, how are you going to side with this guy after all the stuff he did to me? Kevin Owens is good at making himself a pariah.
He's good at making himself a victim in situations he does not have to make himself a victim in.
He's good at making himself a pariah because he knows that he's got that. There's that dark cult following that's going to see that everything he does might look wrong on the outside, on the inside, and on the outside. But there's a method to his madness. Even when he decides to call out Stone Cold Steve Austin, I mean, look at the storytelling he did with there. You go ahead and you basically quoting Stone Cold saying the bottom line is this, and oh, I just brought you here just so I can whoop your ass in a no holds barred match. Oh, let me have everyone thinking that Stone Cold's coming out, and I'm gonna come out here looking like Stone Cold Steve Austin, and I'm gonna just make a mockery of his beer.
So that's one thing he's done different.
Kevin Owens.
Everything else is the same.
So you saying everything else is the same, but the only thing he did.
Yes, I am. I feel
all right.
like he's
all right. I love the passion. I love the intensity. You guys both had really short rounds, like less than a minute, and I need content. I'm selfish, so I'm gonna change the rules up a little bit. I'm gonna let you guys get one more round. You guys can go back and forth. If you guys wanna have points, counterpoints, want to ask questions, it's gonna be about 2 minutes. Lightning round. No rules, just go. I love the intensity. Keep it going. 3, 2, 1. It's on y'all.
Okay.
Did he really just come here and say that?
Yeah, let's go. Let's get it. So here I'll go. I'll lead off. So back to KO. So he's had a lot of these rivals. I know you just said that he had. Everyone focused on what's going on with Sami Zayn, what goes on with Cody, what going on obviously with Roman and the blood and the OG bloodline at that time. But and you said the only thing he done different was obviously getting Stone Cold Steve Austin out of retirement. But the art of a good storyteller is making you believe that whatever they're saying or writing, it might sound fiction, but it could be so true. And when I look at what Kevin Owens has done, especially with his history of Sami Zayn, his history with Sami Zayn alone, the story continues to write itself, whether it's what happened in NXT, what happens in Raw, what happened more recently during the pandemic era where he was obviously Sammy brings in Logan Paul and they have the match at Mania, and then you go to him bringing in Stone Cold, and now him and Sammy are main event in WrestleMania, and now you bring in Cody into this mix, you bring Randy into this mix, and now it seems like they only have the main issue of Kevin Owens' madness is feeling like he's unappreciated. He wants to feel like he's wanted, and people
Okay,
want him.
okay, no. Kevin Owens inserts himself into things that got nothing to do with him, and he's trying to play the victim, and he's done it now 3 times. He's done it with Sammy. If my best friend went off with somebody else, and this is my life story, went off with somebody else, got close with them and forgot about me, I'm not gonna be worried about you. You do
Mhm.
you. When you ready to come running back to me, come right back to me. Strike one. Randy Orton didn't do nothing to this man. Not a thing. All he said was y'all got to chill. And he done, where's Randy Orton at? Nowhere to be found. On a hospital bed somewhere. Merry Christmas to you. And then Cody, again, you ain't had nothing to do with none of that. Do you see the repetitiveness in this?
There's a
Do you?
method. There's a method to this man's
There's
madness.
no method to this man's madness.
Yes,
Man ain't had a
there
US
is.
title in forever and ain't gonna get one no time soon.
There's a method to this madness. He believes he's the champion. In his mind, he did nothing wrong. And what's the art of storytelling? Making someone believe that you're right and and whatever you say is true. And that's
Has
what Kevin
Jay
Owens has
Uso,
people believing.
because I think we're losing the Jey Uso in this. Let me ask you this question. I need you to be very honest with me. How many times have you heard or seen Jey Uso in storylines that are exactly the same? How many times? How many times?
Well, I'll give you that.
Hmm.
I'll give you that. I'll give you that. But when it comes to the bloodline, anything bloodline related, he's clearly there. But obviously, way he does things, the way KO does things different, even though it might look like the same thing, it's so much different because there's a different reason to the madness. Like
My
he's
God.
blaming with Cody, he's blaming the machine, he's blaming Triple H, he's blaming Nick Aldis. With Randy, he's blaming Cody. So he finds these ways to make you think he's right, where it could be
But
so
that's
effing
every
wrong.
story. He
But he
blames
ends
somebody and is
up
trying to show you that he's
taking you
right.
on this journey, but he takes you on this journey that you still want to lie to, though.
It's just
He
a
takes you on that
repair.
fantastic
It's like a
voyage.
washing machine. Wash, rinse, and repeat.
And yet,
Wash, rinse, repeat.
he's still
Uh,
gonna take you on that spin cycle.
all right, that is the end
And
for
you'll
the
go on that
of the
spin
rebuttal.
cycle.
That's the end of the rebuttal rounds. I love the debate so far. You guys got 1 round each. It's gonna be your conclusion rounds, 3 minutes. Thank you guys both for coming. Take a second, figure out the last things you want to say. We are no longer arguing. You guys are just finishing up what you guys want to say, finalizing your points, finalizing your debate, and letting us know what you're thinking. Let's hear it.
Ash.
All I'm saying is Kevin Owens does the same thing. It's like a washing cycle. You wash, you rinse, repeat. I'm mad at you because I think you betrayed me. I'm gonna attack you. I'm gonna try to justify my reasons, and I move on to the next person. I'm gonna do it again. That's all this man has been able to do. Versus Jey Uso, Uso penalty. Actually, I don't remember what we was calling the first thing when it first came out, and they was doing all the chants. They was chanting. Oh, okay, hello, thumbs up. Then they came Uso Penitentiary. Then he became the right hand man. Then he was in the bloodline. Now he main event Jey Uso. See, you see my hand is full. K Owens, Sami Zayn, attack people again, attack people again. 5-2. The man is a repetitive cycle. Therefore, Jey Uso is better at promos and storytelling because he's more versatile. And that's all I got to say on that one. On to you, John.
Jey Uso is arguably one of the biggest stars in the business right now. His merch sells off the rack. He has the whole crowd doing his chant. But Kevin Owens is a mad scientist. Whether you're Cody Rhodes, you're Randy Orton, Sami Zayn, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Logan Paul, even if you go back to his feuds with John Cena, he takes you on this this madness journey of someone who will take you to the darkest pits of misery just so you can see that he was right. Kevin Owens is a good storyteller, yet not just because he rants and raves, because he makes you believe no matter how wrong he can be, he's right in the end. He's a national treasure, as my girl Nessa says, because he takes you on this journey where he's like this silent assassin. He has you make you believe that he's being betrayed by the system, whether it's Triple H, whether it's Nick Aldis. He makes you believe that he's the one that's being wrong, and he's gonna get that story across from hell and high water. How many people getting Michael Cole to leave the announce booth to come do an interview in a car? That's why Kevin Owens is a good storyteller, because he wants you to take you inside his brain. He wants you to believe he's the victim. He's been wronged. They've cheated him out of being a WWE champion. He's been betrayed by his friends because his friends didn't hear his rationale. And some might say it's crazy, some might say it's wrong. But the art of a good storyteller is getting the audience invested and make you believe what they're saying is right. I rest my case.
Lovely, lovely, lovely work from both of you guys. I appreciate both of you guys coming through. Before we get into the voting, before we get into anything like that, I do want to ask you guys both, how are you feeling post debate? First debate out the way, Ashton, for you. Same as you, John. How you guys feel?
Good. It feels good. It feels good to get it. Sometimes, I mean, I talk sports all the time and talk wrestling all the time. So, but to get into the debate chair, obviously, there's certain things you gotta know what comes with it. And obviously, once you get that first debate out your system, because obviously you don't want to make sure you want to try to get as much points across. Then when you get ready for the next one, it should be no excuse that even if you win or lose the first one.
Okay. How about you, Ashley? Before I let you go, actually, I do want to say this. You started off so nervous, so uneasy about this debate, and as soon as it was go time, you went off. The passion was there, the fire was there. I love to see it. I love the debate from you. Very entertaining from both of you guys. I was laughing the entire time. You guys had me chuckling.
Is it because of my facial expressions? I be trying to stop.
It was the arguments. It was the facial expressions. You guys are going. There was the phone in the background ringing. It was. I loved it. I loved every second of this. I'll be honest with you. I
Yeah,
loved every second.
my cousin picks the wrong time to come bring Christmas gifts.
Oh man, it was great. He picked the perfect time to come bring Christmas gifts. Honestly. But Ashley, yeah, go ahead and tell us how you were feeling post debate now.
I feel fine. My throat's a little dry from being right all the time, but it's fine.
That's right.
Oh man, that's funny. Jay, if you're here, I will bring you up for a second if you want to talk about what you saw as well. Rodrell, I would love to see you cast your vote. I'd love to see you cast your vote and tell us what how you're feeling on this one. And I'll cast my vote last, I suppose. But Jay, yeah, let's get a vote. Let's get a vote from you, Jay. I had you on the show. Might as well have you as a judge too.
I'm gonna say Ashlyn put out some great facts about Jay and how diverse he's been since he became main event Jey Uso. So she has my vote right there.
Oh, okay. How did you feel about the debate as a whole, though? Like, just give us like.
It was good. No, it was good. They both put out some strong points about both men. I mean, yes. I mean, Kevin Owens. He has a strong point on why he does what he does, but they both had very strong points. But I'm gonna have to go with my girl Ashlyn on this one, but they both had very good strong points.
I really did like the idea. It was really funny how you were talking about Kevin Owens. Crazy to me. Slander, in my opinion. So funny. But I really like John and how you talked about how Kevin Owens, no matter what role he's in, always makes you believe. And always really he has a way of just getting the crowd behind him. And I really do agree. I do agree with that, like on a personal level. Like anytime I'm watching Kevin Owens on my screen, he does find a way, face or heel, to make you believe. He had you believing that Logan Paul was going to knock him out in their match. Insane storytelling. I really do love that from him. Jay Uso, one of my favorites to watch. Didn't bring up him in those promos against Gunther, by the way. Insane to me. Hey man,
Yeah.
there's always so much to cover.
I dropped the ball on those.
I totally forgot about those. Did you think about that? That was what started. That really actually did start his journey to becoming Intercontinental Champion when you think about it. And what ended up happening? He got screwed by Jimmy. Again, like it always comes back to the bloodline, to the family somehow. But that really was what started his journey to being an Intercontinental Champion, even though we didn't get as long as we thought it should have been deserved. But he got the gold. That's all that matters to me.
It was short.
28 days. It was so short. It was much too short.
I
really
don't think he was right. Like 28 days. You should have seen me the first time after Bianca and Jay lost their titles. I was hot. That was like 40 days, and I was like, "This is too short."
Well, I do like when they lost. They weren't the ones that was pinned, so that protect them. That's why I have a theory about my man Trails in the comments. My co-host of Sports View Wrestling, he actually had predicted the theory about New Year's Evil when it regards to Trick Williams. He predicted that what happened with him and Eddie Thorpe was going to lead to what we saw on Tuesday, which is now going to set up a triple threat between him, Eddie Thorpe, and Oba out here in my city. New Year's Evil. I'm gonna be in the building that night, going to see it, and it protects them. Even though they lose, they still protects them from looking like they're still over. So that's why I was happy with. Even with I didn't like Bianca and Jay losing to the Unholy Union. I'm glad they weren't the ones that was pinned, even though everyone's going to bring up that Shayna Baszler made Jay Cargill tap out and all that other crap.
No, she did it.
Okay, here we go. We got the OG on the show. We got our pod brother on Sundays, Big Rodrell, BRF Sports. If you don't know, he's been judging in the comments for the Jay Leaf debate. And he's gonna come over here.
Get in there. Let me get in there. Hold on.
He's gonna come in here and he's gonna give his final thoughts on you guys' debate and cast his judgments when he's able to. When he's available to. I do want to say thank you both for showing up here today. I know it was short notice for some of you guys. Appreciate everybody coming through. Jay, Leaf, John, and Ashlyn. So before we get these final votes in, I think he's ready. Let's see if he's ready. If not, you good, Roger? Not here yet. Okay, I'll cast my vote then. My vote, I think I'm gonna have to lean towards Ashlyn. It was very entertaining. Watching this go. I want to revisit this topic again at some point though, because it was just so interesting. You guys make me want to get in here sometimes and just like, but hey, I almost jumped in a couple times now. I love hearing the different mindsets on the wrestling. I love hearing the different perspectives on everything. Never in my life would I have thought that this would be a conversation, and yet here I am laughing, enjoying everything for the past 30-something minutes. And that's because of both of you two. So I appreciate the content you guys putting out. Go ahead and shout you guys' stuff out one more time. It's I think this is going to be a separate video than the last one when I do post this eventually. So go ahead and shout your guys' stuff out.
Got the champion.
My name is Ashlyn J. I am the host and founder of the She Talks Wrestling podcast. You can follow me on Instagram and on TikTok at She Talks Wrestling. If TikTok goes away, follow me on Instagram. I'm not on Twitter that much, but it's at SheTLK Wrestling, and on YouTube at She Talks Wrestling, and Twitch at She Talks Wrestling.
Okay,
that's
John.
me.
John Watson, Sports for You Podcast, Sports for You Wrestling Podcast. At John Watson 0984 on X and Instagram. At Sports for You, that's sports, the number 4 and the letter U podcast on Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube. And Sports for You Wrestling at S for You Wrestling on Twitter and Sports for You Wrestling on YouTube.
All right. Jay, you can go ahead and shout your stuff out. You came on here and you gave us a judgment, so I appreciate you doing that, watching the whole way through.
Oh yeah, no, it was good. Thank you for bringing me back on. But yeah, it's Jay on Wrestling on TikTok and Jay on Wrestling on YouTube and on Instagram. So follow me there.
All right, Roger, go ahead and cast your vote.
All right. Okay. Before I cast my vote for the for this debate, okay, y'all both were really good. Y'all really good before I cast my vote. But I want to go back to the first one you had with Leaf and Jay, and why I lean toward the modern era. I want to kind of actually explain myself before I go into the vote. Both made good points, but the reason why I lean with Jay was from the standpoint. This is how I feel. This is how I've always felt about the Ruthless Aggression era. Because I always compare the Attitude Era and the Ruthless Aggression Era. I always said in terms of sheer wrestling, the Ruthless Aggression Era destroys the Attitude Era in terms of sheer wrestling. When you look at the depth of when you look at the wrestling depth, the talent, and just everything as a whole, the Ruthless Aggression Era kills the Attitude Era in terms of sheer wrestling. Storyline, for me, it was the storytelling in the stories where the Attitude Era always crushed the Ruthless Aggression Era, because I always felt like the Ruthless Aggression Era, for me, it kind of lacked in storylines. There wasn't a lot of good storylines. I felt like the storyline for me of the entire Ruthless Aggression Era, for me, was the Triple H Shawn Michaels rivalry, and then there was like little specks here and there, but outside of that, the storyline didn't really for me with the Ruthless Aggression Era. That's why I pick it, but I would still pick it. That's why I kind of lean towards the Attitude Era, because even though the Attitude Era wasn't necessarily as deep as far as the wrestling, it had enough good wrestling with its storytelling, which is why I will pick the Attitude Era over the Ruthless Aggression Era. That's just my opinion about that. As far as the modern era has everything going. It has the wrestling, it has the depth on the talent roster wise, but its storytelling, can't nobody tell me that the modern era storytelling hasn't cooked. There's like whether it's been the bloodline, whether it's been the Rowdy, whether it's been this whole Kevin Owens thing. I hate to say it, I lean Kevin Owens. My vote goes Kevin Owens. As much as I love Jey Uso, as much as I love what Jey Uso's been doing, and I heard what she was saying about the diversity, and and even though Jey Uso has diversity, I have to say, even when he's trying to be a single star and he's trying to do his own thing, outside of the Judgment Day angle, everything's still back to the bloodline. The Undisputed Tag Team title run. The Undisputed Tag Team title run. Who cost them championships? It was Jimmy Uso. When they win the Intercontinental Championship, it was Jimmy Uso that cost him the Intercontinental Championship, which ultimately led him fighting Jimmy at WrestleMania 40. So and then he wins the Intercontinental Championship against Braun. He loses to Braun. Who cost him the Intercontinental Championship? It was Solo and Jacob, which ultimately led to the Bloodline War Games match. So even in the fact with Jimmy being diverse, the Judgment Day stuff for Rhea, everything still led back to the Bloodline. So there's been a little bit of repetitiveness with him as well. The reason why I'm saying is KO. Even though a lot of his stuff has been turning on somebody, this is the first time we've seen there's justification in his actions. There's justification in his actions, and the reason why I say that is because he really was trying to turn over this new leaf as being this righteous guy, this guy that's trying to do everything the right way, trying to go about things the right way, been fighting the bloodline for pretty much 4+ years, and then just having these guys along the way trying to help, trying to help fight the battles with them. It's like it's one of those things where it's like trying to turn over a new leaf, but at the same time, it's kind of like him trying to keep that demon side of him down. And it's almost like all of these things that have transpired, that has happened to him, and he's seeing it before his very eyes. It's like, man, I'm trying to do everything right, but yet it's like the one I've been trying to fight, the one I've been trying to keep down. Y'all are trying to put him in power anyway, and I'm trying to keep the demon down. Y'all kind of forced my hand here. Y'all are kind of giving me no choice. Y'all giving me no choice.
Yeah,
Let the
I
demon
agree.
back out. I gotta bring
I
the demon back out.
I think for sure, Kevin Owens and Jey Uso have been involved in some of the most prolific storylines of 2024.
Easy.
Their storytelling has been great. The talking has been great. The promo work has been great. Seems on this debate, Ashlyn has taken the W here 2-1. But we appreciate both you guys coming through. I would love to have you both on here for more debates, coming onto the podcast, being judges. I would love to have you guys involved with this channel. Excellent work, excellent content. We appreciate everybody coming through. We hope yesterday you had a blessed Christmas. We hope today you have a blessed day. And on that note, we're going to be ending this stream. But make sure to stay tuned Tuesdays and or Thursdays. I will let everybody know pre the episode coming out. This show will be dropping every single week. New creators on here, some familiar faces on here sometimes. And I hope we all can have fun. We can all come together and talk about the sport that we love. On that note,